Hi guys, I'm going to hope to God that you can see this. I made a PowerPoint, not really, I made a Google Slides to explain my writing project. So yeah, let's go. If you're new here, this is my young adult fantasy novel that I am going to be starting draft 3 of at some point. But most recently was working on draft 2 over NaNoWriMo, and I just reread it and did some like re-outlining. And anyway, so this is kind of an overview of like the characters, the world. That's pretty much it. Project Assassin, a comprehensive guide to my writing project. So first of all, we've got a nice little mood board here. We've got the big old house. We got the birds, the daggers, etc., etc. Okay, the blurb is this. When their leader is taken hostage, an idle league of young spies, the Domino Initiative, agrees to pay the ransom, assassinating an allied country's foreign elites. But will they complete their assignment before the initiative tears itself apart? What it includes, what you can be looking out for. Assassins, duh, obviously, that's the point. Ballroom dancing, because this takes place at the Sunstead Rite, which is like the country's most famous ball that people come from all the different surrounding countries so that they can come and just enjoy this. Mommy issues. Of course. Of course. Yes, we definitely got some of that going on. Religious trauma. Yes, yes. We also have a little bit of that. Crows and ravens, because you cannot have a young adult fantasy story that doesn't involve crows or ravens in some capacity. But this also includes magpies and jays, anything within that general range, okay? And then finally, a vicious winter, because as I said, this takes place at the Sunstead Rite, which is basically like a winter solstice celebratory ball. It's very relevant to the culture of this country, which I don't really touch on that much, honestly, because I didn't want this to be too long-winded. It's just a general idea of what we've got going on. So this is a little bit rudimentary, all right? It's not the most craziest. Yeah, most craziest. I'm a writer, guys. Not the craziest. I can't even tell if you can see. You can see a little bit. But mainly, we're going to be focusing here on Merces. Merces is the country where this takes place, specifically in and around the capital city, Gruel. But it's like on the corner of this here continent. Here are the characters that we are working with. The Domino Initiative. First off, we've got Francine. So it's so cute. She got the little books and the dragonfly and the buttons. But I am very homesick for arms that have never held me. Depressing. She's very observant, very smart, very logical gal. Okay, but she's got that big old the imposter syndrome. You know how it is. She is second generation merchant. Her mom is the one taken hostage. So you know the leader of the League of Young Spies. Well, the leader is also Francine's mom. So remember we talked about mommy issues. Yeah. All right, next up, we've got Deirdre, okay? She's a dreamer. She's a romantic. You know the type. You know what we're working with here. She's also very fragile and sickly. Her health has always been a concern, as long as ever, okay? She was adopted by Francine's mother in infancy. So these two girls were brought up basically as sisters, but they refuse to refer to each other as such. She doesn't know anything about her history, who her real parents are, anything like that. And she's out here looking for a rescuer. She feels like everything would be better if she could just get someone to save her. Next up, Azalea. Interestingly enough, she was the original main character. Anyway, it's shifted around a little bit. She's a rageaholic, okay? We had to make her not the main character because it was like a little too much to deal with as the main character. But yes, she's a rageaholic and she's got a superiority complex. And if you're at all familiar with the idea of a superiority complex, it is very much based on feelings of inferiority. Okay, that's how it works. She is a Gruel-kin orphan, meaning that she's an orphan from Gruel, which is the city. So the actual Domino Initiative, their headquarters is right outside of Gruel. So she was recruited to their league of spies from Gruel. So Gruel-kin orphan. She's kind of the initiates. That's That's a typo. Kind of the initiative's top dog. She's the pinnacle of what everyone else thinks they should be in their business, you know? And she is also oozing religious trauma at any given point. Next up, we have Jack. Yes, there are a lot of characters. It's an ensemble cast. Think Six of Crows, think The Umbrella Academy. You can't really take any of them out. They're all crucial. He is thoughtful. He is polite. He is reserved. He's just the sweetest guy. And he has a major savior complex. So if you recall Deirdre, you know, who needs a savior or wants a savior? This guy, he's got the savior complex. Interesting. He is also a Gruelkin orphan, like Azalea, the rageaholic one. His twin sister has recently gone missing. So he and his sister were both recruited to the initiative at the same time, but she got the heck out of there, but he stayed, but he also is trying to save her. Anyway, it's a whole thing, but she's missing. He's also a class a people pleaser. I know we talked about his savior complex and Deirdre needing a savior, but there's more than that going on, okay? There's more things at play. There's Jack's passivity. There's Azalea's it's a whole thing. Next we got Georgia. Okay, we're getting closer to the end, but I'm not quite there yet. She's fun loving, pleasure seeking, etc. You know the type. She's a type 7, the enthusiast, for anyone familiar with the Enneagram. She is very avoidant of conflict and discomfort, because why acknowledge any of that when you can just enjoy the good stuff, you know? Like the others, Gruelkin orphan, you get the gist. She is best friends with Deirdre. She and Deirdre are besties. They go way back. Well, not way back. When they met, when they both joined, or when Georgia joined the initiative. Anyway, this is all stuff you'll find out if you ever get to read the book. But this is just an entry, just to give you a little taste of what's going on. Maybe she has some secrets. I don't know. Finally, we have Demetria. Okay, she is our last of our main six characters. She is an extreme loner slash misanthrope type. You know, I think you kind of can imagine what that might be like. She seems very equipped and knowledgeable. She kind of doesn't give the others very much to work with. She's the most recent recruit, but everyone kind of respects the fact that she knows what she's doing, probably more than any of them do. They don't know her history. She keeps to herself. She's also an orphan. She's a product of the influx, which is this whole thing anyway. But she is from Gruel, kind of. I mean, yes, she is from Gruel. She is actually superior. So if you recall Azalea's superiority complex, but is rooted in the inferiority feelings, whatever, Demetria doesn't have a superiority complex because she just is superior. But she's not a very egocentric person, so she's not really focusing on that, but it's obvious to anyone who's watching, paying attention. Slow burn character introduction. You kind of don't really get to understand what's going on with her until as the whole story carries on, and then you eventually kind of figure it out, but it takes a while. Okay, this, believe it or not, is going to be the briefest version that I could do, so strap in. You recall we're in Merches. You recall we're in and around Gruel. Let's zoom out a little bit. So, some context country-wise, we've got Anthraka, which is north of Merches. We've got Merches, which we know about. We've got Rasa, Terra. All right, Merches. What we got going on here? It's a prospering, fertile country. So you see all these sheep, this mountainous, the countryside. We got a little by the sea. Its main exports are lumber and animal products. It connects Anthraka to the rest of the continent, if you recall what that looked like before, and it has deeply religious traditions. So this is where they live. They live in Merches. Now we've got Anthraka, the one that's north of us. It's a dying dynasty with strong defenses. So it has a very strong military situation, but like I said, dying dynasty. It exports coal and petroleum, and according to myth, it was once a very lush country before its governing god was banished to the Socken Wastes for growing dangerously greedy, leaving it godless. So if you notice that gap in the map, that's where the Socken Wastes are, but it's not totally pertinent to this at this point. But anyway, it's a desert country. And then finally, the most important other country that we need to discuss is Terra. It leads in iron and steel production, implementing continental locomotives. So they're responsible in large part for travel, for one. Well, exports and imports, they kind of enable that across the continent for that to happen efficiently, because if they were doing all this by foot, it would take freaking forever. It honors the old world's polytheism. So in this world, kind of the understanding is that each country had its own governing god. So if you recall, Anthraka's governing god was booted from her situation, but that's a whole bunch of stuff to get into that I'm not going to get into. They honor the old world's polytheism, whereas merces has one principal god that they really are all about. They are historically immune to international conflict due to their integral role in commerce, travel, and reparation. Anyway, they're just goated. No one has anything over rasa terra. The rasa terra, they're just really cool. They're peaceful and they're powerful. It's like awesome. So we've always had anthraka and merces. They've got beef with each other. The dying thing going on with anthraka, and then the flourishing thing going on with merces. In merces's mind, this can be attributed to anthraka's godlessness and merchants' religiousness. That's why they think they're so flourishing and why they think Anthraka is so dying, okay? Until 20-ish years ago. All right, this is the part that got really involved, but I kept it pretty brief. The triumvirate proclamation. There was a coup, there was war and conflicts and all this fighting, there was a drought, there was all this drama. Anyway, merces is desperate because they just been attacked. And there's a famine. Anyway, it's a whole thing. Merces presents a three-way peace treaty for rasa terra to present as their own. So they go to rasa terra, they're like, okay, here, we drafted this little thing. You show this to Anthraka, who you are peaceful with, and you can help us out. Both Anthraka and merces would benefit from rasa terra's support. Remember, they're so awesome. And rasa terra has nothing to lose, because then they're just getting support and stuff from the others. So yeah, the proclamation is presented and signed. This is the triumvirate proclamation. This declares the three countries working together peacefully. The proclamation includes new policies for merces and a marital union between an Anthrakan heir and a Rossiteran duke. All right. So yes, look at them. So striking, beautiful. Basically, there's a peace treaty, but given the history, it's precarious. Now, just a reminder, the story that we're working with, the blurb, when their leader is taken hostage, Francine's mother, an idle league of young spies, the Domino Initiative agrees to pay the ransom, assassinating an allied country's foreign elites. But will they complete their assignment before the initiative tears itself apart? Basically, these guys, this Domino Initiative situation, they gotta kill these guys if they want to get the headmistress back, the initiative's leader, Francine's mother, you recall. And so that's the main plot. But of course, we've got 6 different characters and they've all got their little subplots going on. And each of these characters has beef or feelings, whatever. Everyone's got their own situation going on between each and every one of them. We've got the assassins and the political drama, all that kind of thing. And then we just have all these young adults. They're all about 17 to 19 in age, just trying to figure out what they're going to do, how to navigate their feelings, their hatred, their love, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, that's basically what I have for this. But I'm going to go for right now because I think somebody's going to walk in on me and I don't want that to happen.